So thank you so much, everybody, for joining. We're today discussing 4 reasons why you're not getting quality job applicants. I am Jen Picard, and I am in charge of recruitment marketing, the recruiter marketing here at Bright. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly via email or my social networks. And a quick introduction to Bright.com. Bright eliminates the noise in the hiring process by connecting top job seekers to their best opportunities and employers to their top prospects. We've pioneered the Bright Score, which examines thousands of data points to find the best fit between job seekers and job openings. Our tool helps you find qualified job candidates and reduce your time to hire. And the really unique thing about Bright that you won't find on some of the other passive sourcing tools or the active passive sourcing tools is that our candidates are genuinely interested in hearing from you. So all of them have been on our site in the past 30 to 90 days at the very least, and they're receptive to your messages. The key takeaway from today's webinar that I really want everybody to get is that top job seekers are thinking a little bit differently than the unqualified candidates that you've probably been getting with your job postings. So the big difference is that they know that they're in demand and they know that they have their choice of employer. So you want to think a little bit differently. You want to make it easy for a job seeker to decide to apply to your company. So today we're really going to be going over how to think like a top job candidate. So despite the high unemployment rate, our top candidates today have a choice in where they work. They're being really particular about where they apply and interview. And one of the big reasons employers aren't getting these qualified applicants is that they're really just not tailoring the recruitment process to appeal to those top candidates. So today we're going to discuss the 4 main reasons you're not getting qualified candidates, as well as what you can do to remedy those mistakes. So we'll review job postings, your application process, your employment branding, and your candidate experience. And at the end, we'll follow up with just a quick Bright demo so you can see firsthand kind of what our tool does, because we do offer a free 30-day trial that I would encourage everybody to take advantage of, if not just to see, if you can get anything out of it over the next month or so. So we'll start by talking about job postings. Job postings were covered during our webinar about 2 weeks ago. That presentation was also recorded, so I'd really encourage everybody to watch that for a more in-depth view at how to improve your postings, but we'll go over some of the basic points that we discussed on that webinar. So the big thing is a straightforward job title is the #1 thing that, it's pretty much the first step in the process of a job seeker where you could lose them. As you can see from the slide here, 64% of job seekers would not apply for a job if they didn't understand the job title. So a lot of companies these days are saying they're hiring a sales guru or an engineering wizard, and people don't understand what that means. A more straightforward job title will help you get found in your searches, and it also helps the job seeker understand what sort of level the position is at. Because the top candidates aren't going to be searching through every posting that they can find, like maybe an unemployed candidate or somebody that hasn't had a lot of success lately would be doing. They're just looking for the most relevant positions and the most relevant titles, and they're looking for how they can make the job application process as painless as possible for themselves. You also want to include a great opening paragraph in your job description so that you'll spark the interest of the job seeker, and you really want to wow them into wanting to read more. So in addition to providing a quick overview of the position, you also want to include what's in it for the job seeker. So just try and impress them as much as you can, make them want to apply for your position, and include information about your benefits, your company culture, and anything else that helps you stand out as an employer of choice and makes them really want to apply to your position. You should also include a concise list of required skills and qualifications and separate out the skills and qualifications that are more nice to have. So a common mistake that we see employers make in this section is just creating a huge list of skills where the top candidates are saying, well, I'm not going to waste my time with this because I don't fit all those requirements, even though they might have those 3 or 4 that are really mandatory. And the more average job seekers or the unqualified job seekers are saying, well, I'm not having any luck anyway. There's no point in not applying to this position. So that's where you're kind of getting, the unqualified job seekers coming in here, because you need to just separate what's required, what is non-negotiable, with just the things that are nice to have. You also want to make sure that you lead with a performance-based description, which helps your non-qualified job seekers self-select out, and it encourages the candidates that are willing to perform those job duties to apply. So, for example, you want to say responsible for obtaining 20% client renewals, rather than saying that you must have 2 to 4 years of account management experience. Anybody could have account management experience, but what you're really looking for is that top candidate who can get those renewals for you. And that's the thing that's going to kind of separate out those top candidates from the more unqualified ones. So when you communicate the realities of the jobs and then you're listing all of them and you cover the day-to-day responsibilities and you focus on the outcomes that you're expecting, candidates can self-select whether their interests align with the job. Try and keep jargon out of your descriptions as much as possible. 57% of job seekers say this puts them off from applying for a role, and 1 in 3 kind of find it confusing. You also want to make sure that you mention your compensation and your location. Both are actually pretty large factors in a top job candidate's decision to apply. So you want to make sure that those are in there if possible. Compensation, at least provide a range or say that it's negotiable based on experience. And in terms of location, mention, if there's multiple locations they'd be working, if they have their choice, if they will be traveling frequently. These are all important things that candidates consider as well. So that's pretty much it for the job postings. Like I said, check out our webinar from 2 weeks ago for a really more in-depth view at that. We're going to move on to the application process now, because even if you get your job posting right, you still lose out on quality job applicants if you have a tedious application process. So don't make your top job seekers jump over hurdles to apply. This is a very literal representation, but I was thinking, if you make your top job seekers jump over hurdles to apply for your positions, they're not going to do it. And some employers are arguing that a difficult application can weed out job seekers for them. They're tired of looking through 300 resumes for every position, and they don't care if they have less applicants. But what they don't realize is that it's really the most qualified applicants that they lose. So like I was saying earlier, the unqualified ones are having a hard time finding a job. They're not hearing back. They're going for quantity over quality. They're applying to every position they can, whether the application process is long or short, whether they're interested in the company or not. But these top job seekers are being really picky. And if they're really busy, perhaps they're working a current full-time job, or they're out networking, or they're interviewing quite a bit, they're not going to feel that a tedious application is worth their time. And the best advice I've ever heard about the application process is really quite simple. Take yourself through your own process. So if you're using an ATS, does it parse your candidate's resume, or does it require them to enter each piece of information individually? A lot of them say that they parse resumes, but they actually have quite a few errors where they don't, or they put in the wrong characters, or they miss out on important information. See how long it takes you to complete your application process. Check and see if your software times out and if it deletes information. That's a really frustrating step for a lot of people. Well, they'll just drop out of the process. If they fill out most of an application, maybe they go cook lunch, they come back, and everything they've entered is missing again. And really just ask yourself, if you're looking for a new job and you want to take your awesome recruitment skills elsewhere, would you find this application worth your valuable time? So always put yourself in the position of these top job seekers. And make sure, would you fill out this application yourself? Does it make sense? Is your process easy? Does it collect your information in the best way possible? And whenever you can, if you would just ask for a resume, a cover letter, and maybe a few easy-to-answer questions, that's probably going to be the best-case scenario. And maybe just have them fill out your ATS application, after they've passed the initial screening or something like that. That way you're not missing out on those top candidates. So use your job description, as we discussed earlier, to weed out the unqualified candidates. and make sure you're using your application process to collect the best ones. And we also discussed earlier really briefly that you need to make sure you have a great employment brand if you expect top candidates to move from your job description onto your application. So top candidates really do want it all, and you can't expect them to settle. Now, if you want the best candidates, you have to have that great employment brand, and you have to show that in your job postings to get people to move from there to the application process. So that means having a great culture. That means having benefits, and it means, a lot of other things like having development opportunities. So in this 2012 Employer Brand International Survey, they found that 86% of employees are attracted to companies by their development opportunities. The survey also found that 84% of companies believe that a clearly defined strategy is the key to achieving your employer branding objectives. An employer brand strategy might be best planned by starting with your current employees. So maybe do a survey or ask them one-on-one, what do they value most about you as an employer? And some people want work-life balance. Others really enjoy the hustle and bustle of a startup culture. They don't mind putting in extra hours. Making your current employees happy is really instrumental for retaining them and getting your employment brand out there and also getting referrals from those employees. So some of the big sites out there that have employee reviews are Glassdoor and Career Bliss. So you should check those out to make sure your employees actually like working for you, what they're saying about you. You can use that to see if they feel that they're rewarded, to see if they feel promoted or recognized for their accomplishments in your company. And also ask them, or ask yourself, really, what you do to help retain your employees, what you do to motivate them, what you do for recognition. Do you have flexibility and work-life balance? And really just to find out, are your employees bragging about that your organization is a great place to work? So once you kind of have an idea of what your current employees like and dislike about your company and what kind of culture you have, decide if you're happy with where you stand. So obviously the easy thing to do is if you have a great culture and you have great benefits, so you feel like you don't have anything to change, then you want to start promoting that. But some companies find that they're not happy with where they stand. So take Melissa Meyer at Yahoo, for example. I know this is a really current situation, but she wasn't really happy with where the company stood. She felt like she was missing out on top talent because they didn't have a great culture, because they didn't have great benefits, and she's looking to change all of that. So she doesn't want her B-level employees to keep hiring what she calls C-level employees. She wants the top candidates, and she's making some changes to help her company get them. So while most companies will start with some really basic benefits like medical, dental, retirement savings, and you can just keep adding more benefits to that list as you can afford them. But other companies, especially in the tech space, are learning that they can be competitive without offering higher salaries. So instead they're offering benefits that they can afford. So some of the no-cost options include giving your employees a flex schedule, having a dog-friendly office. Both of those things don't cost you anything, but they make your culture a little bit different. They make your employees a little bit happy, and they count as a benefit, even though it doesn't cost you a cent. Other common benefits are catered lunches, tuition reimbursement, ample paid time off, comfortable office spaces, gym memberships. The list goes on. And not only are these all low-cost options compared to turnover and hiring costs, but they can help you recruit these top candidates. So if you offer anything that's above and beyond your industry standard of compensation and benefits, you want to make sure that you mention that in your job postings to encourage those top candidates to apply. The employer branding experience really plays a huge role in who's applying to your positions and who's not, and it may be the reason that people are looking at your job postings but not applying. Maybe they're looking you up and just deciding, this isn't a place that I want to work. They're not competitive in the space. They don't seem to have anything special about them, or their employees just legitimately don't seem to like working there. These are all really negative things that are just going to be an uphill battle for you to try and get these top candidates. So once a candidate has applied to your position, so You have a great employment brand, you show that off in your job posting, and a candidate's decided to apply, you want to make sure that you're then putting a really strong emphasis on your candidate experience. So we're going to switch slides here. The candidate experience really matters for a number of reasons here. So what we're seeing on this slide is a Career Builder survey of 800,000 job seekers. Now, they had some really interesting findings, and some of my favorites were that 44% of job seekers had a worse opinion of the company after applying and receiving no response. 32% of job seekers were less likely to buy a product from your company if you didn't respond. And then 15% of job seekers had a lower opinion of the employer after being contacted for an interview. So these are all pretty horrible stats here. What you're finding is, the interview experience really makes people perceive your company a lot differently. And it's not just you as an employer, but it's your products as well. And this can have a really negative impact on your overall business. For one, it makes them not want to apply to their company. For two, they might share their feelings with other people and sway them from wanting to apply to your company. But worst of all, these people are your potential customers as well. And when they have a negative experience with you as an employer, it does actually affect how they feel about you as a company as a whole. So for a great candidate experience, I'd really have to say communication is going to be the key here. You want to keep your candidates in the light about what your next steps are. So let them know you've received their resume. Let them know when they'll hear back from you. When you tell them that you'll hear back from them, that they'll hear back from you on a certain day, actually make sure that you do that. There's a lot of double standards here in the recruitment industry where the job seeker is expected to be on time to interviews, to make sure that they follow up in the correct time frame, and those same standards aren't really held to recruiters these days. And I think that that's a really big part of why the candidate experience is so poor. Because while recruiters expect a candidate to be on time for an interview, it's actually pretty normal for the recruiter to be 15 or 30 minutes late. Maybe they got hung up with another interview, or they had a phone call come up, or there's any number of excuses. But those things would immediately eliminate any job candidate from your position. And you have to keep in mind that those same kinds of things make the job seeker think differently about you, and that maybe that job seeker is eliminating you as an employer of choice because you weren't holding yourself to the same standards that they hold themselves to. So you also want to make sure that you're keeping your process pretty quick. Top job seekers will have other offers. They'll be interviewing at other companies, and they will move on. So you don't want to drag out your recruitment process so long that they find another opportunity in the meantime. So that means not scheduling interview after interview after interview. Maybe trying to get more interviews than at once, or making sure that they only meet the minimum amount of required people to see that they're a good fit. Basically, you just don't want to make the process so long that they lose interest in you and go on somewhere else. So what we were saying earlier, a good candidate experience can help your employment brand, and it might even help you generate referrals from those same candidates, which is great. But a poor candidate experience story can really travel quickly online and keep top future prospects from considering you as an employer. So especially in the days of social media, people are out there sharing their experiences with you, with their friends and their family members about what it was like to interview with your company. They're putting that on social media. They're putting their reviews on Glassdoor. Other candidates are reading those social media posts and Glassdoor reviews and deciding whether or not they want to interview with your company based on what other candidates have experienced with you. So a poor candidate experience can really go a long way. Even if it's just one person, that one person's voice can be amplified so far these days that you really want to make sure that every single candidate, whether qualified or not, gets the best candidate experience possible from your company so that you're not losing out on those top prospects later on because of what they've said about you. So we're going to go ahead and move on to a Bright demo right now. I just wanted to show everybody what the tool looks like. So switching over. And great. So this is what I see when I log into the back end of our tool. Bright.com is currently hiring for 2 positions. And I'm going to show you the junior recruiting analyst here. So rather than creating a new job post, because this is actually a live tool and this is what we use to hire, I'm just going to edit it here. But instead, pretend like I'm saying post new job and that I've just filled in the information. So what we've helped do here is we really wanted to make sure that all of the important information from a job posting is included in all of the Bright job postings that you put up. So we see here we have room for the title. We're making sure that it's a really clear title. We're not using any sort of strange jargon here. We want to make sure that everybody that views this has a pretty good understanding of what the position is. We have the option to put in a job code and the location. Category is a really great thing to fill out, to make sure that you fill out, because it helps you get found in those search results a little bit better. So down here in the company information, this is where you would put in your opening paragraph. So this is where you tell the candidate why they should want to work for your company. Like we were saying before, this is really an instrumental part of your job posting, because you want something that draws your candidates in right away and gets them really excited about applying to your position, so that when they get down here to your description part, they can see from up above the company information, this is why I want to work here, and then down below, this is why this position is such a great fit for me. So if you write these 2 things well, you'll be able to weed out your unqualified candidates while getting your top candidates to apply. So once we filled out all of this information here, we can choose who it gets emailed to. You can email about new applicants or show confidential, and you can either apply through Bright or you can send them to your ATS, whatever else you use, or straight to an email address. Once I save this, we have this new page that we just put in a couple weeks ago. It's called our jobs completion page, which I'm sure doesn't mean anything to most of you. But essentially what it does is it goes through the job description that you've entered, and it pulls out the relevant keywords so that you can decide which of the keywords it's pulled out are the most important skills and qualifications. So if reviewing resumes is required, then it'll make sure when it matches the job posting to your candidates for our Bright score, that it pulls out the most important resumes first. So if this skill is required, it'll tell you who in your candidate list or in your prospects list has that required skill. You can also confirm your salary range here, and once we save it, you can immediately start getting your applications in. So one of the really great things about Bright.com is that it not only shows you who has applied for your position, so we can see that up here. So you can see everybody that's actually applied, or we can actually go in and see everybody that's simply viewed the position. So this is a really great feature because a lot of times people will view your job description and they won't apply for some reason. Maybe your application process was too long. Maybe they saw something in the posting that didn't appeal to them. And what happens here is that you can see a lot of people are slipping through the cracks. So some of these really great candidates have really top scores. They have the experience that's needed for this kind of position, but they didn't apply for whatever reason. So this is a really good opportunity for you to reach out to these people, maybe find out why they didn't apply, and let them know that you think that they're a really great fit and that you'd love to have them come in for an interview. So don't let your best candidates slip through the cracks. You want to make sure that you reach out to them before it's too late, and Bright.com helps you do that. So I'd really encourage everybody to sign up for a free 30-day trial of this tool. You get to unlock unlimited candidates. You can post as many jobs as you'd like. There's really no limit to what you can do in the next 30 days. So you would sign up for that at bright.com/register/employer. I really encourage everybody to do that. So I will go ahead and switch back to our presentation here. Oh, no, that's not it. What is it? Oh, let's see. There we go. Okay. So I just wanted to say thank you, everybody, so much for coming today. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Find us online. We're on LinkedIn, Twitter, Google+, Facebook. Let us know what you thought of the webinar. I always love to hear feedback. And if you have ideas for future topics, also feel free to reach out. It's jen@bright.com. And like I said before, go ahead and sign up for a free 30-day trial at bright.com/register/employer. So that is it for our presentation today. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. And we can go ahead